Call the Board of Trustees regular meeting Wednesday, January 10th, 2018 at 6:30 to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of meeting agenda. Any additions or deletions, please? I know number 13, we are deleting closed session.
We do have a different agenda than what was posted. It was amended earlier today. People that came in the audience did get a copy of the amended agenda, so there's nothing different than what you're seeing there. But if you're looking at what was posted, it is different. I would make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented, taking item number 13, closed session, out.
I second.
Motion by Clerk Candle, supported by Trustee Clifford. Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of minutes, 12/4/2017, 12/5/2017, 12/21/2017.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from 12/4, 12/5, and 12/21 of 2017 as written.
I second.
Motion by Trustee Clifford, supported by Trustee Gurley. Once again, any questions, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Public announcements. Are there any public announcements at this time? Public comment. Any public comment at this time? No public comment. Number 7, public hearing regarding 2018 Community Development Block Grant Fund, CDBG. What, you want to open up the public hearing?
I make a motion that we open the public hearing at 6:31.
Do we need to close the meeting before we do that?
We're going to make a motion to open the public hearing, correct? All right, I have a motion by Clerk Candle, supported by Treasurer Harold. Any other questions or discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Candell?
Aye.
Connell? Aye. Trombley?
Aye.
Gurley? Aye. Clifford?
Aye.
Public hearing is open 6:31. Please.
Good evening. I am Chelsea Waller, intern for the shelter program at Turning Point. It's closer.
Please.
Okay. Better?
Thank you.
I'm here as a representative for our shelter program tonight to request $1,000 in community block grant money from Lenox Township to assist in the provision of shelter services for abused and homeless women and children from Lenox Township. And agency-wide, we serve a total of 5 residents from Lenox Township in 2017. CDBG funds will be used directly and only to provide support services for women and children who are residents of the Lenox Township and who are homeless due to violence. For over 36 years, our shelter has offered a comprehensive array of services designed to support survivors of violence and to assist them in securing the resources needed to make a fresh start. The services include systems advocacy, 24-hour crisis intervention, support groups, medical support, skills building, employment and housing search, and case management. We are particularly proud of the shelter's comprehensive children's program, which provides emotional support, education, safety planning, childcare, and recreation for young people in the shelter from birth to age 17 years old. Our residents are provided 3 meals daily, personal needs items including clothing from our secondhand store, 24-hour staff availability, children's programs including a very successful summer camp program, access to our counseling and therapy programs and outreach services, court advocacy, and civil legal assistance. Per the federal guidelines for community development block grant, and per the priorities of housing, homelessness, and community development projects, our program responds to the national objectives of benefiting low and moderate income persons and responding to other community development needs that have a particular urgency, such as responding to and working to provide immediate safety, support, and advocacy to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Instead of asking for funding, I would rather be here to inform you that there is no longer violence within the homes of the residents of Lenox Township and Macomb County. Unfortunately, Turning Point's 24-hour crisis line and the fact that our shelter is full most of the time demonstrates daily that family violence continues, contributes to homelessness, and that our services are greatly needed. Turning Point's commitment to ending domestic and sexual violence cannot happen without the support of our community. Please help to maintain this crucial and valuable service by supporting the continuation of grant funding support. Thank you for this opportunity to address this council and for your consideration in providing part of the solution for the community response to domestic violence. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one question. Does that include the village of New Haven as the statistical number you're giving?
No, New Haven is a different statistics. That's just from Lenox Township.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I did bring brochures too, so if anybody would like one, I can bring them up to you guys.
All right. Thank you.
You want them?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sharon Westfall. I'm the director of the Senior Center for Lenox Township, and I too am here asking for funds. The Community Development Block Grant offers funding each year to eligible groups and services. At this time, I would like to ask that those funds be awarded to the Lenox Senior Center. Many of our seniors are able to afford to participate in our trips that range from $25 to $50 per outing, but many can't. Several members are left out of those activities due to financial hardship. An event that is enjoyed by all of our seniors are our monthly mystery lunches. I plan a location for lunch about a half hour away. The seniors have no idea where they're going, and yes, they guess along the way and have a great time with it. And the seniors order their own lunch and they pay for their own lunch. I try to choose establishments that will work with us, keeping the cost inclusive under $15. The only other fee the seniors pay is $2 towards the bus. Currently, our funding only allows 6 events per year. There are 2 sizes of buses. First one is 35 passengers, costing $5.50. There's a larger one for 55 passengers, costing $6.50 per trip. With the CDBG funds, we could add an additional 2 mystery lunches, which would allow more to attend. One of the summer, when we had some of our activities that were of the higher caliber, there were several of our members who went all summer because we had 3 trips, unable to attend anything except our normal functions here. And this would just enhance their lives and several more. The events are regularly attended by approximately 30 participants who look forward to these outings as a source of camaraderie and friendship. Most of them tell me it's because they feel like a family. It's my request that you allocate the $1,100 to Lenox Township Senior Centers so we can continue their smiles and a lot more good times. Any questions? Thank you.
No question. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I also have brochures.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nikki Pittman and I'm a forensic interviewer / crisis counselor at Care House. Care House is the Macomb County Child Advocacy Center located in Mount Clemens. We are one of 34 accredited child advocacy centers in Michigan, serving over 53 counties and one of over 800 in the United States. Through referrals from law enforcement or Children's Protective Services, our services are focused on child victims of sexual and/or physical abuse and their families, providing services to over 800 families each year. We collaborate with law enforcement jurisdictions in Macomb County, Child Protective Services, the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office, mental health professionals, medical professionals, including Turning Point Sexual Assault Forensic Nurse Program, and other child welfare agencies as determined by the case. Our goals are to minimize the stress and trauma associated with child abuse investigations, to help the child victim and non-offending family members through the investigation and prosecution processes, and to provide support to begin the healing processes. Over 1 million children in this country suffer from abuse and neglect each year. Before Care House opened in 1996, children and their families in Macomb County with concerns of possible sexual or physical abuse had to navigate a maze of unfamiliar and sometimes scary places, from police stations to hospital emergency rooms to social services agencies, with each visit often requiring a child to painfully relive the details of their abuse. This added more trauma to the lives of already traumatized children. Care House is a child-friendly, family-centered facility that coordinates the complex investigation and support services for child victims of sexual and physical abuse. A key component of our program is the coordinated forensic interview. All professionals involved in a child abuse investigation gather at Care House to observe the forensic interview via closed-circuit television, while our highly trained forensic interviewer meets one-on-one with the child in another room. This reduces trauma to the child victim by eliminating the need for them to repeat his or her story and relive the details of the abuse over and over again. After the forensic interview, Care House also offers follow-up services for child victims and their parents, intervening to promote healing and helping families to cope with the emotional stress and trauma that is caused by not only the acts of abuse, but also the investigative process. Our support services include crisis counseling, parent and child support groups, trauma-focused therapy sessions, child safety assessments, family advocacy, access to forensic medical exams, referrals to other needed community services, and as the designated counsel in Macomb County for the Michigan Children's Trust Fund, Care House also offers child abuse prevention information, education, and training for professionals and the community at large. Families are never charged for the services they receive at Care House, and we provide services to all referred children and their non-offending family members. As we begin our 22nd year of providing services in Macomb County, we are excited to announce that we will soon be opening a satellite center in Warren to better serve child victims of abuse. As the demand for our services increased over the past several years, our staff, schedule, and space in Mount Clemens has been stretched beyond capacity. Instead of launching a campaign to build a larger facility in Mount Clemens, our board of directors realized that a satellite child victim service center was a better option for our community. Our satellite center will not only bring much needed services to the larger population in our county, and for whom transportation to access services has been a barrier, but will also free up space in the schedule of our Mount Clemens location so that services can be delivered faster to children in the communities who utilize that location. Since our doors opened in 1996, we have provided services to over 6,400 children, with 30 of those children residing in Lenox. In 2016, we provided forensic interviews and support services to 510 new suspected child victims of abuse and their families. One of those children reside in Lenox. In 2017, we provided forensic interviews and support services to 606 new suspected child victims of abuse and their families. 4 of those children reside in Lenox. We respectfully request your consideration for funding this year in the amount of $600, which will support services for 1 child victim and their family that resides in Lenox Township. We also invite you to visit our website at mccarehouse.org, and please follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your time and consideration. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
No, I don't at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Nobody else? Motion.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing at 6:44.
A second.
Motion by Clerk Endell, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any questions? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Kendall?
Aye.
Arnold? Aye. Clifford?
Aye.
Trombley?
Aye.
Gurley?
Aye.
Public hearing closed at 6:44. Back to the agenda. Number 8, consent agenda. All items listed under this consent agenda are considered routine by the Township Board and will be enacted by one motion. According to established Township meeting rules, there will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board or public so requests at or prior to the meeting, in which event the chair of the meeting may remove such items from the consent agenda for discussion and consideration under agenda item number 9 below. Approval of the consent agenda shall be by a majority roll call vote of those present and voting.
Orders and bills, we have a total of $81,288.19 currently to be paid. We paid invoices before we went on break so that we didn't get stuck with some charges. That amounted to $292,909.91, along with another invoice for $203.30, for a total bill approval request of $374,401.40.
I'll make the motion, we approve the consent agenda with orders and bills $374,401.40.
Thank you. Motion by Treasurer Arnold, supported by Trustee Gurley. There are questions? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Arnold?
Aye.
Gurley?
Aye.
Clifford?
Aye.
Kendall?
Aye.
Trombley?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Number 9, there's no items removed from consent agenda. Unfinished business, letter A, zoning board of appeals appointment.
I would like to table that
Thank
until we
you.
get a chance to talk to the members that are up for reappointment.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. Motion by Treasurer Arnold, supported by Trustee Clifford. There are questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 11, new business. Letter A, fiscal year 2017 audit report. Appreciate your patience. Thank you. If you would. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As you know, my name is Paul Bailey. This is Karen Shafiq. We're part of your audit team. Tonight we handed out a copy of your fiscal 2017 audit report. Also on the top of that, we handed out a presentation. It's kind of a summary of the audit report. Your audit report is 50-some pages. To try to get through it quickly, we've tried to summarize it in 3 or 4 pages so that you can get on with your agenda. As you know, you contract with our firm each and every year to do your financial audit. We come out, spend about a week and a half with your staff, auditing your data, going through your policies and procedures, and then go back and pull it all together, and then we come out and go through a draft with you in a lot of detail. Again, tonight we'll just talk about some of the very very summarized information. If you turn in page 1 on the outline, again, it is a 50-some page document, but one of the first things in the audit report is something called your independent auditor's report. It's technically the only portion of the report that belongs to Stewart, Bovee, and Whipple, and it's where we give an opinion on whether your financial statements are presented in accordance with general accepted accounting principles. You have what they call an unmodified or clean opinion. That's what you're striving for. When we send it to the Department of Treasury, they'll look for that when they receive it. Again, it's the best type of an opinion you can receive. The next couple items there, we're not going to talk about, but something called the management discussions and analysis. It's a letter that kind of explains how your financial statements are put together, as well as some summarized information. And then Roman numeral 3 there talks about your township-wide financial statements. As I've explained in the past, your financial statements actually contain 2 sets of financial statements: a commercial way of looking at the township, which includes the value of buildings and all your fire trucks and everything. We're going to talk the more traditional way, the government's and the way you adopt your budget tonight, but we just want to point that out so that there are 2 different kind of numbers in here. Under Roman numeral 4, your general fund, we'll start talking about your numbers. Your general fund had assets of $2,013,573, liabilities of $55,077, deferred inflows of resources of $15,000. They're basically something similar to a liability. For a total fund balance as of June 30th, 2017 of $1,942,776, and you can see the 16 numbers next to it. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few seconds. Number 2 there is something called a statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, or your operating statement. This year, your general fund took in just over $1 million, $1,007,737. You spent $919,554. So for the year ended June 30th, 2017, you were to the positive revenues over expenditures of $88,183. So a good year. As always, we kind of try to give you some graphs. If you turn to page 4, this is a pie graph that shows where your general fund revenues come from. They're pretty consistent from year to year. You'll see both in 2017 and 2016, a major piece of it was your intergovernmental or state shared revenue was about 42%. Your next biggest chunk was taxes collected from residents and businesses of 41%, and then you can see each of the pie pieces there, but those are the 2 large. They account for 83% of your revenues, and we're exactly the same from year to year. Page 5 just does the same thing with your expenditures, your general fund expenditures. This graph's a little deceiving. For your general fund, you spend most of it on what they call general government. The Michigan Department of Treasury tells the township where departments go under what category. But because you have a separate police and fire department, they're not in your general fund, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this year you spend about 84% on what they call general government. We'll break that down when we turn to the next graph. On page 6, the next graph takes all the funds that the township has or utilizes to record activity, and just takes a look at the expenditures. The largest piece of the township goes for your water and sewer project, about 39%. The next largest piece is 34% for public safety, which police and fire. Your general government drops to 14% when you start looking at it with that piece there. So when you compare one community to the other, some communities have their police and fire within their general fund, other ones have separate funds for it. And the final bar graph there just shows you a picture of your fund balance in the general fund for the last 5 years. You'll see it had decreased for approximately 4 years, and this year it did go up slightly because of that $88,000 of revenues over expenditures. If you turn back to page 2, in addition to the general fund, you have some other funds that are utilized to record activities, what they call your special revenue funds, and that's your road fund. You'll see they had revenues over expenditures this year of $203,824. Your fire department actually had expenses over revenues this year of $661,697, but that's because you bought a new fire truck. The fire department, the special revenue funds, a lot of times build up fund balance so that they can buy large pieces of equipment each and every year, and that was included with their expenditures. The PTA fund there was actually revenues and transfers over expenditures of $1,151,000. Part of that was the additional transfer to your water and sewer fund because of the 26-mile road project to fund those additional costs. Liquor law enforcement was revenues over expenditure of $3,002, and your monitoring fee fund, we had expenses over revenues of $331,000. You'll see the fund balance there for those 5 funds at the end of 2017 and 2016. I won't read them for you, but you have a positive fund balance in each one of those categories. You also have what they call a debt fund, a Chapter 20 drain. It only had $39 of activity, and their fund balance at the end of the year was around $31,000. The next page, you also have what they call an enterprise fund or a water and sewer fund. And it operates more as a business type entity, so it's under what they call the accrual basis of accounting. And on this page, what we've done is list the revenues and expenditures, and if you look about, it's still under D1, this is changes in net position. It shows for 2017, the change in net position was $1,508,794. That means you had a profit of that. But because the accounting for business type funds are a little bit different, when you do construction and do a lot of work like a 26-mile road, it doesn't get expensed, it gets capitalized. We try to do number 2 there to show you the cash results. And actually the cash results show a negative $561,000. And again, primarily because you had to spend about $1,700,000, $1,800,000 on your 26-mile road projects there. And then number 3 there is what they call working capital for your water and sewer fund. If it was reported similar to a general fund, how much would you have available to do projects? In that net working capital of $874,000 would be about what you would have to do any projects in your water and sewer fund, or that is used for cash flow purposes. That's a real quick synopsis of the numbers. There's also a couple letters attached to your report. The first one says Independent Auditor's Report on the top. And it basically, not only do we audit the numbers, but we take a look at your accounting processes, and if we become aware of any weaknesses in your system, we're required to report it to the board. And the only weakness that you have is really a technicality that every municipality and every commercial entity is under accounting standards. It would be nice if they had somebody on staff that could draft this financial statements. For the clients that we deal with, the size of Lenox Township, it's not cost feasible to do that, but theoretically, it's kind of they say it's a weakness because you're relying on an external party to do that for you. The second letter is what they call the audit communication letter. CPA firms aren't required to come to a meeting like this. We appreciate the opportunity to come and answer any questions and go over the numbers. It just kind of goes through the process and tells you whether we had any difficulties. I started out by saying we did not have any difficulties. We start out by planning it a couple months ahead of time, scheduling it with your staff, as you're well aware, and everything goes as practice. Then sometimes when we go over the audit report, because we do about 50 governmental units in nonprofit agencies, we may become aware of some things that we just might want you to look at, and we attach those to the back of the letter, and we've talked to that with them, with the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer when we went through the draft report, but just so you're aware of it. That is a as quick a synopsis as I possibly could do for you. I know you got a long agenda tonight.
I appreciate that, Mr. Bailey.
Any questions that I can answer at this time?
Questions?
I have none.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to work with you again.
And you also, you and Karen both do a fine job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Motion to accept the report.
Yeah, please.
Make a motion that we accept the fiscal year 2017 audit report as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Clerk Kendall, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any other questions or discussion?
If we have questions at a later date, we can bring them up.
Absolutely, that's what Mr. Bailey's for.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 2018 Community Development Block Grant Fund, CDBG allocation. everybody have their sheet? Please. I think also too, we'll need Mr. Casson. If you would, Mr. Casson. Jeanette, for services, can you give us the total, please?
$1,100 for services.
We have 3 organizations asking for money for services, Care House, Turning Point, our seniors. Last year, we contributed to Care House and Turning Point. Our seniors received nothing.
Seniors received nothing. I don't remember because I wasn't here last year for the meeting. I didn't look it up.
What was MHC?
I'm sorry.
What was MHC last year?
MHC.
Mr. Cass, would you know what MAC is?
H is in house.
Macomb Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
What's that?
Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
Yep, they're asking for funds also, but they couldn't be here tonight.
Gonna make it here tonight.
I think our hands are really tied with the amount of money that we
It's
have
a very-
this year.
It's a very little amount of money,
It's tough.
over $1,000. And should be used where it could have the greatest impact.
Then we have the $9,301 for brick and mortar.
Right. I'd like to deal with the services first. I think those are
Want me to give them an option?
I am leaning towards giving the seniors money because they have not received any money last year, and that program has grown. I think they're doing quite a bit with the seniors of our township. I don't know if anybody else has any comments or any ideas on disbursement.
You got one on my phone? What do you want to have?
You thinking of the whole total available?
I just know they didn't receive anything last year. Trying to keep that program alive.
The total amount requested from all the 4 groups for services is $3,600.
That was from last year.
No, for this year. We only have 1,100 to get to allocate. So if you want to give to more than just the seniors, we can break it down.
I kind of am looking right here thinking if we gave the seniors $550, which would allow them to have one more trip, and then we took the remaining $600 and split it between the 2 Care House and Turning Point you presented tonight. That's
What's your recommendation?
that would be my motion to allocate CDBG funds, $550 towards seniors so that they're allowed another trip, and then the remaining balance be split between Care House and Turning Point.
I can second that.
Motion by Clerk Kendall, supported by Trustee Clifford. Any other questions? Discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Kendall.
Aye.
Clifford.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Gurley. Aye. Trombley.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Casson, on the other amount, please, sir.
Oh, $9,301.
Balance for brick and mortar, correct? And Mr. Casson and Deputy Antomiglio talked to the county today, and your recommendation for that amount, sir?
then it go to the emergency,
Thank
excuse
you.
me, that it be assigned to the emergency housing repair program that is administered by the county. They have told us they will allocate the money to Lenox Township residents. Their priority is seniors, low and moderate income individuals, and also those individuals living in manufactured home communities. They would anticipate serving about 16 Lenox Township families this year.
Yeah, I believe when we discussed it, it breaks down to around 16 families, approximately 500 each. There's a 20% fee for each one going to the county on top of that, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
I will make a motion that we allocate the remaining $9,300 in CDBG, brick and mortar funds to the home improvement.
And I'll second.
CDBG. There we go.
There you go.
Motion by Clerk Kendall, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any other questions regarding that? Discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Kendall.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Clifford.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter C, annual firefighter physicals request. Chief O'Shea.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Real quick, I gave everyone a little addendum to that tonight, and it's only because of timeliness from the state of Michigan getting back to the health department getting back to me. We started last year, and I budgeted for annual physicals for our firefighters, provided the information to you in the letter dated December 13th. This year I did budget $12,000 for annual physicals, and our quote came in from our provider that we want to stay with from last year, $9,535. In addition to that refers to my addendum tonight, with the serious outbreak of hepatitis A in southeastern Michigan, and Macomb County being the #1 county in the entire state, I want to provide, and I think we have an obligation to provide hepatitis A series shots to our personnel to protect them and their families. Firefighter in a nearby community in August contracted hepatitis A from a patient. He was subsequently put on short-term disability for a minimum of 3 months. And every member of that department had to go through hepatitis A testing because it's so contagious. The cost of that, and that's why I had to wait for this. The state of Michigan will not cover the cost. They are putting all their funds towards low-income people, drug abusers, people that are incarcerated. So the health department is set up a special pricing for the fire departments in Macomb County at only $43 a piece. So along with the physicals, I would request that the board also approve the approval for the department to get hepatitis A vaccines. So the total cost between the physicals and the hepatitis A vaccines will be $10,309. And that's still almost $2,000 under my line item budget that I put together for
Yeah, I noticed that
physicals.
when we read it earlier. Yeah.
Okay. So, and in addition to that, Jeff White and I are working together with the health department. Right now, all of our employees have to go down there. Well, we're working with a senior staff member, and it's about a 99% done deal where they will actually come out to our community and service both departments in one day and give all of our employees the shots right here. And that's a real big deal for my employees because none of them get home from work until after the health department closes, and they're not open on Saturdays. So,
Excellent. Any questions for the chief?
I make a motion we accept Chief Foucher's proposal to add the hepatitis A shot cost to the physicals. It's still under budget. I don't have a problem with doing it that way.
I'll second.
Motion by Trustee Clifford, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, everyone. And one last thing on a personal note, on behalf of my entire family, thank you for all the support from the board and the township employees during our loss during the holidays. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Letter D, medical marijuana licensing ordinance amendment and resolution. Attorney Chapter.
Yes, thank you very much. This is essentially an amended and restated ordinance for the medical marijuana licensing ordinance that was adopted by the Township Board back in December. Following adoption of that ordinance, a few things came to light as expected. I think in our discussions leading up to adopting that, we expressed and everybody understood that the ordinance is a new thing and will probably need to be amended along the way as we work through issues, and a few issues popped up right away. So we've put together this amended and restated ordinance that will repeal the old ordinance, not too old, and replace it with this new ordinance. And it has a number of provisions that are amended, and let me go through those very briefly with you. It has been tracked in the materials provided to the board, so you can see with underlining and cross-throughs what is being deleted and what is being added, but I'll summarize it here for you. First and foremost, probably the most significant change deals with the prior ordinance's numbering and sequencing of the applications. If you recall, it provided for a process of receiving the applications and assigning a number to them. A number of folks were referring to it as a lottery system if multiple applications were received at the same time. It was really just a method of numbering, but there was a lot of misperception out there, we realized, and we came to learn that there's a high likelihood, based on experience in other communities, of everybody believing they got to be the first in the door to win the lottery, to get the golden ticket. And that wasn't the case, but it was a perception. And so we met internally and came up with an alternative idea to avoid the necessity of the perception out there by those wishing to get their applications in, that they don't have to be here on the very first day. What it does is it creates a window of 30 days for applicants to submit their application. It doesn't matter when you submit it in that 30-day period. All applications submitted during that period are going to be received and reviewed. And it provides for that window from February 12th is the first day that the township will be accepting applications, and the window will close on March 12th. And that's stated clearly in the ordinance, so there's no question about it. Previously, it referred to the effective date of the ordinance, and admittedly, you almost have to be a lawyer to figure out when that would be. I told you, of course, when it would be, but in case that message didn't get out to others, now we're stating it squarely right in the ordinance very plainly that that's the first day applications will be received. The ordinance refers to this as a licensing round. It identifies this as the first licensing. And it indicates that there can be future licensing rounds established by the township board after the first licensing round. So if all licenses, for example, are not issued in the first round, if there's still available licenses that haven't been granted or possibly haven't been applied for yet, the township board will establish a second round of licensing in which applications can be received. It's to do that by way of adopting a resolution at a board meeting like this, and that would establish the next round of licensing. So that is hopefully a method by which it can resolve the perceived need to line up at Township Hall on February 12th or whatever the first day might have been. And as an aside, we have been more, I know there's a lot of questions out there about the applications form, and the clerk's office and planner and myself have been working on those applications. The plan is to have those ready right after Martin Luther King Day and posted on site, on the website if I'm not mistaken. So just in case anybody's listening out there, trying to keep the word out there that that's when that is going to hopefully be ready Turning back to the ordinance, the second modification is to a clearer method to determine when the applications have been received. Because if there's a deadline of March 12th, when the window closes, there has to be a very clear method to determine whether you've submitted your application on time. And we've provided that through the language in the ordinance. And it basically, everybody should refer to the ordinance, of course, but it basically says when it is received on a business day of the township through the mail or hand delivery. So if it shows up on a Saturday mail run to the township, it's not going to be considered received until the first day of business after that, which would be Monday, unless it's a holiday, in which case it would be Tuesday. That's just to give an idea. Everybody should review the ordinance in terms of making sure that they get their applications in according with that timeline and that definition of when it's determined to be received. The third change is one that came from Chief Fouché concerning references in the ordinance to fire marshal. He very astutely noticed that and clarified that technically there's not a person designated as a fire marshal in the township, but the person responsible for that is the fire chief. So it will be the fire chief who basically does the inspections and those sorts of duties. So we've adjusted the language to refer to the fire chief or his designee so that that can be clear going forward. Lastly, the fourth change is with regard to grow licenses. Previously, the board approved 5 for each of the 3 type of grow licenses. The thought was to just establish 15 grow licenses of any type. So the maximum would be 15 grow licenses totally in total, whether it's all 15 as a Class B or all 15 as a Class A or a mixture of that, 5 each or whatever it may be. So it gives the board a little more discretion there, and it gives the applicants a little bit more freedom to determine how they're going to go forward. That's it for the changes to the licensing ordinance. There was also some issues in terms of site plan submissions and the chicken and the egg. Do you apply for your license first? Do you apply for your site plan or special land use first? To clarify that, there are some amendments to the zoning ordinance that have to go to the planning commission before they come back here to clarify that the proper method is to at least get your provisional certificate from the township board of your license before the planning commission or ZBA would approve any sort of a site plan or special land use. That way there's some indication that you've gotten through the main part of the application process for your license and things are looking good, but it helps applicants and the township line things up, both from the township administrative purposes and from the applicant's business planning purposes. So that's it. I'm going to hold off on the resolution for now so I don't confound things even further, and ask you if you have any questions regarding the amendments to the licensing ordinance, or if, I know Mr. Casson is here, if I missed anything, fill in blanks, but happy to address those or entertain a motion. If there's going to be a motion, it would be a motion to adopt the medical marijuana facility, the amended and restated medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance presented this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Questions?
I'd like to make a motion we accept the revised ordinance as written and explained by Mr. Jopich at this time.
Specific language on that, Mr. Jopich?
That would be the medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance.
Licensing ordinance, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee Clifford, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Other questions or discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Clifford,
Aye.
Connell,
Aye.
Trombley,
Aye.
Gurley,
Nay.
Kendall.
Nay.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. Anything else you need to cover with this, Mr. Jopik?
The resolution for establishing the fees was the next item, but that's it for the ordinance. Thank you.
Okay. Code enforcement appointments. Or did you want to do fees at this time?
No, do resolution.
Okay, go ahead, sir. I thought you were going to leave that off. Go ahead.
I'll defer over to Clerk Handel for this resolution.
My understanding on this resolution is that we're looking at two fees. One is a licensing fee, which it's been stated already that license fee would be $5,000 renewable annually. The second fee we need to look at is the application fee. Considering the costs related to the startup of the medical marijuana application, along with administration of the paperwork required to fulfill the parameters of the medical marijuana ordinance, I would like to recommend that we set the application fee at $4,000 for the first year. This amount takes into consideration the amount of time that has been devoted by the township attorney in putting the ordinance together and the township planner and engineer for the time that has been dedicated to making sure that the zoning and engineering portions are taken care of. As I stated, this is my recommendation for the first year, as there are many aspects of the ordinance and implementation that have yet to be experienced and may become time-consuming as well as we are all new to this process. In that vein, I would also like to recommend that we review the application fee following the first year's implementation and adjust it accordingly.
If I could just supplement very briefly, we have looked into this. These numbers aren't at all pulled out of thin air. They're our best attempt. Staff has talked about this and tried to come up with a fee that was fair, but also, and importantly, fair to the township and the taxpayers of the township. That the applicants are paying for the review of the applications, as the ordinance shows. It's a pretty in-depth review. The state, by the way, as I understand it, is charging $6,000 for their application review. They go a little more in depth, but not a whole lot more in depth than the township. So those are the types of things that we looked at. As Clerk Handel pointed out, this is something that the board can revisit, perhaps as the township gets more used to processing these applications. They'll go smoother, quicker, more efficiently, and the fees can be adjusted accordingly in the future, or the opposite in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like me to read the resolution? This is a resolution will be referred to as 2018-1, resolution establishing schedule of fees under the medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance. At the regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of Lenox Township in Macomb County, Michigan, held in the Township Hall today at 6:30, with those present and absent, that information will be filled out. The basis says, whereas the Township has established a medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance, Part 25, Ordinance 3, to provide for the regulation and licensing of medical marijuana facilities in Lenox Township, and to provide penalties for violations of the ordinance. Whereas the ordinance pursuant to authority granted by the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act, Act 281 of 2016, MCL 333.27101, provides for the establishment of application fees and annual administrative fees by the Township Board, and whereas Article 2, Section 2B of the ordinance provides that an annual non-refundable fee shall be paid to the Township in an amount established by resolution of the Township Board for purposes of defraying the administrative, enforcement, and other costs associated with medical marijuana facilities located in the Township. And whereas Article 2, Section 3B of the ordinance provides that a license application must include a non-refundable application fee in an amount to be established by resolution of the Township Board to defray the costs incurred by the Township for background investigations, reviews of financial records, and inspection of the proposed premises, as well as any other costs associated with the processing of the application. And whereas the Township Board has been advised by the Township Clerk, Township Treasurer, Building Official, Fire Chief, and Engineer that the schedule of fees set forth in this resolution represents reasonable estimates of the costs that are currently applicable to the processing, investigation, and enforcement of license applications and licenses as required by the ordinance. And whereas the Township Board has determined that it is in the best interest of the Township to adopt this resolution in order to establish the schedule of fees as permitted under this ordinance. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the following schedule of fees is adopted and shall apply under Article 2, Section 2B and 3B of the ordinance. Application fee for all license types is $4,000. An annual fee for the license for growers Class A, growers Class B, growers Class C, processor, secure transporter, provisioning center, and safety compliance center is $5,000 per application. It is further resolved that all fees established by this resolution shall be non-refundable as provided under Article 2, Sections 2B and 3B of the ordinance unless otherwise provided by the ordinance.
Thank you. Good job.
I will make a motion that we accept the resolution number 2018-1.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Motion by Treasurer Arnold, supported by Clerk Candell. Any other questions or discussion? If the clerk roll call, please.
Arnold.
Aye.
Candell.
Aye.
Clifford.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Any other regarding anything else on this, Mr. Chapik?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate your work, the board's work. Mr. Casson, thank you very much for your work on this. Code enforcement appointments. Letter E. Mr. Casson, this is actually twofold, I believe. We're going to handle this for the medical facilities. Mr. Casson has agreed to be the enforcement officer on that with Trustee Clifford as a second to him. So we have that, and also Mr. Casson, due to resignation, has agreed to become the new code enforcement officer with my department as part of his original duties, or existing duties, I should say, which I very much appreciate.
Now, as that goes, Mr. Supervisor, Steve and I would go out on all inspections, not just one or the other.
Correct. So we always have like two-man rule, two people go to these facilities. Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Any questions for them?
I make a motion that we accept the appointment of Steve Casson as the code enforcement officer and the appointment of Mr. Steve Casson and Scott Clifford as the medical marijuana code enforcement.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion by Clerk Candell, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now I don't know if your microphone's working either. I was just going to let you know. There you go. Thank you.
Sliding down.
Letter F, planning review fee schedule proposal. Mr. Casson.
Good evening again. One of the items we spoke of when I was hired 8 or 9 months ago was to review the planning fees, determine if the township is subsidizing these development fees, or in fact, maybe the costs were too high. I've done an analysis of our costs as related to the amount of money we've been taking in on each of these, and it determined that we have actually been subsidizing them quite a bit, that our fees are not in line with what our costs are. I also looked at surrounding communities and found that theirs are considerably higher than ours, but recognizing that the law states that we have to justify the costs regardless. I attempted and undertook an analysis of rezoning, special land use, site plan approval, plan unit developments, and variances at this time. I still need to come back to you at a later date with things like planning and that, but that's typically not a priority right now. You can see the breakdown. Currently, for example, we charge on our rezonings $850 and $3 per acre. Our total cost on that, just to break even, is $1,275. So we're losing about $400 on that. And you see the breakdown of the cost, how we incur them. So I'm recommending that our fees be increased for rezoning to $1,275 regardless of the acreage. Special land use to $1,275. That used to be $800 plus 2 per acre. Site planning used to be somewhere between $275 and $550, and our costs are up to $925. So that was recommending that $925. Plan unit developments were anywhere from $275 to $550. Our costs are $1,500 just to break even. In variances, which were currently $375, our cost is $800 to break even. So as you see that schedule column on your right at the top, I'm recommending that the Township Board adopt those fees for the planning development reviews.
Mr. Cassidy, you based your study on the surrounding communities and townships?
Did I hear you asked? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole question.
You based your study on these, your proposed fees also on what other communities and?
Yes and no, I did. I determined what our costs were, and then looked at other communities to see if we were in line. And after I determined our cost and recommended the proposal, I looked again and determined that in most cases we were fairly close, but in many cases we're still a little bit behind some of those costs. But you know, their fees. Their costs may be a little higher. I don't know what they pay their planning commission. I don't know what they pay they may have a staff planner, they may have a consulting planner. These are different things. So you can't totally compare apples to apples on this, but the bottom line is the fees I'm recommending do match our cost, and they're within range of surrounding communities.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Currently, our current practice is anytime a resubmittal has to be done on any of these, we're charging it at 75% of the original cost. So I just would like to say, I'd like to make the motion to approve the planning review schedule as presented with the notation that resubmittals would be collected at 75% of the original cost per our current practice.
Thank you.
I second.
Motion by Clerk Condell, seconded by Trustee Clifford. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work on that again also. Letter F, planning review fee schedule proposal. Mr. Safe, good evening.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you. This was not planned, but we are proposing a schedule of fees too, related to engineering, site plan reviews and engineering, plans review. I did send a letter. Attorney Joppick reviewed it, and this schedule been discussed a few times before, and we never got to this point. But today, we'd like board approval to move forward, setting the fees for any application to come in, break down per application, what type of application, and it goes to different departments, and also spell out the township admin fee. And this is a mechanism also to recover from any collections that we've been experiencing.
Thank you. Any questions? Motion.
I have no questions. I can make a motion again.
Please.
Make a motion that we accept the engineering fee schedule as presented at this time.
I will second.
Motion by Clerk Indell, supported by Treasurer Honnold. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Might as well stay there. Engineering fee schedule proposal.
No, we did it.
I'm sorry.
Moving on to the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Resolution adopting sanitary service district policy, sir.
These next two items, thank you, Mr. Supervisor, they were reviewed by the Township Board back in '04, and they were motioned, and the motion passed, but there were only an action item. There were no formal adoption of these policies, these two items. So in this discussion with the Township attorney, suggested putting a resolution to address these two items. It basically deals with the district studies and the public water and sewer extension designs.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
We'll make a note that the resolution adopting the sanitary service district policy is going to be resolution number 2018-2.
Thank you.
I'm not going to read the whole thing.
No, that resolution will be available upon request.
Right. Any copies of these resolutions will be available on request to the clerk's office at any time. So give us a call, we'll email them, or whatever you need.
Thank you. Motion for this resolution.
Make a motion that we adopt the resolution adopting the sanitary sewer service district policy, resolution number 2018-2, as presented. Second.
Thank you. Motion by Clerk Kendall, supported by Trustee Gurley. Other discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Kendall.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Scott Clifford.
Aye.
Kathy Honnold.
Aye.
Sorry.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forget my name, Carol.
So sorry.
Letter I, resolution affirming policy for the design and construction engineering of the township water main and sanitary sewer systems.
Thank you again. This was, again, passed by the board back in '04. Same manner, would like a resolution to adopt this formally.
We will be identifying this as 2018-3, and if approved, copies will be available in the clerk's office.
Thank you.
I will make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2018-3, the resolution affirming policy for design and construction engineering of the township water main and sanitary sewer systems.
I second.
Motion by Treasurer Honnold, supported by Trustee Clifford. Any discussion? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please, again.
Honnold.
Aye.
Clifford.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Kendall.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Safe. Letter J, This is a long time coming on this one. Glad to see this. Township Park Restroom Engineering Approval Request.
This item has been discussed for quite some years, and I believe the township would like to have a building with concession and bathrooms as integrated as part of the park. Now, we looked at a few options, and nothing materialized in the past few years, so here we are again. If the board would like to move forward, we can get some ideas. What do you would like it to look like? What kind of material finish, location, size, and I'll involve the architect. Will come up with the estimate construction cost and plans and specifications for bidding.
Thank you.
So, Matt, were there any engineering studies, Cam, whoever wants to address this, were there other studies or reviews done before on this? I know it was a while back, but do we have anything on it?
We never could get approval to even get started.
I'm sorry, Cam, what's that?
Pull the microphone, please.
We were never able to get approval to even start the process. And that's what we would like to do, is at least get something started so we can move forward with this.
I see. I was under the impression there was always some studies done, but if there's not, okay.
And I know
No, I mean,
it's always been talked about, and we've never taken action.
Right. I mean, as we've developed different things in infrastructure, we have certain infrastructure in place to take off to accommodate these other improvements. So, I mean, we've worked...
Well, there is some
to a point.
infrastructure done out there?
Yeah, like the proximity of the water main, the proximity of where we stop the sewer main are all placed to service this structure for the future.
And I think the board will agree, this is one of the #1 complaints we've had about our park.
Every year.
Every year, no restrooms for families and things of that nature. And it's...
You know, I can agree, that's a nice facility, and you're asking them to go in a porta potty, and I never did agree with that.
So, need a motion.
I make a motion we proceed with a study on the city community park bathroom building, or however you want to word it, a further engineering study to see what's proposed.
To start the process.
To start the process.
I'll second that one.
Okay. Motion by Trustee Clifford, supported by Treasurer Honnold. Any other discussion?
No, I would just like to note that it is something that has been budgeted for quite some time.
Many years.
There is capital outlay money in the budget to cover that. So, you know, we're working within our budget by approving going forward on that.
Thank you, Len.
Welcome.
And I appreciate we're getting started on it at this time of the year because spring comes quick. That way these gentlemen will be ready if we want to act on something. So,
I understand. Thank you, Cam Smith.
thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Letter K, DPW Continuing Education Conference Request. Sir.
Yeah, during the holidays, I received a notification for a continued ed opportunity coming up at the end of the month. And actually, it's a local one for a change, instead of having to drive way out of town. It's a one-day workshop. It's going to be held right here in the city of Richmond. And I would like to get approval for both John and I both to attend for the day at a cost of $300.
I will make a motion to allow Cam and John to go to the workshop on January 29th in Richmond at a cost of $300.
I second.
Motion by Treasurer Honnold, supported by Trustee Clifford. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Letter L, Southeast Michigan Building Officials and Inspectors Association Zamboya meeting request.
This is a request for $50 to attend the Samboya Medical Marijuana Regulation Our building inspector has requested that Amy Flood, our building department manager, be able to attend this in anticipation of the rules and regulations that they're going to have to follow regarding medical marijuana.
Thank you.
I will make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $50 for Amy Flood to attend this meeting.
I will second.
Motion by Clerk Candell, supported by Treasurer Arnold. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Letter M, Building Department BSNA training.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that's me too.
Yep.
In anticipation of the engineering fees, the planning fees, the building department fees, everything commercial that's going to be coming up with medical marijuana, Amy called BSNA today to possibly have some training to show her exactly what is going to be required. She did not get a quote back from BSNA before the end of the day. So my motion at this point would be to approve up to $1,100 for BSNA training that would include Amy, our building inspector, Dennis Lemieux, and Veronica, who is the backup for the building department, for the three of them to have on-site training.
Thank you.
Veronica does Amy's
Veronica
job.
is the backup. So
Back
if
up
they-
to Amy.
Yes. So
Okay.
if something comes up when Amy's not here, Veronica tries to complete that process. So that's why we're requesting that the three of them be able to attend.
Okay.
You're supporting that motion?
Yes.
Motion by Clerk Candell, supported by Trustee Gurley. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Board of Review continuing education request, letter N.
Sure. I would make a,
I'm sorry, sir.
I was listening, I thought you meant that, I didn't hear what you said.
We're on letter N. It's Board of Review continuing education request. Sorry. Yeah, if any time these mics are loud, we got to adjust them, just let us know. I appreciate that.
Reading is so riveting,
There's a lot on the agenda, and yeah.
Deputy Supervisor, please.
since there's
Yep, we can. If we have no questions, go ahead.
So I would like to make a motion that we allow the Board of Review to attend this workshop, no charge. They're giving it to you, so why not?
This is no charge, right?
Support? Yes.
I support.
Motion by Treasurer Arnold, supported by Clerk Kendall. Any other questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
That's good for me, free.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter O, Michigan Township Association MTA Conference Request. Clerk Kendall, you handling this?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is a request for the township officials to attend the Michigan Township Association Conference and Expo, which is going to be held in Traverse City, April 23rd through the 26th. We're also requesting that our planner, Mr. Steve Casson, be able to attend us. There's some interesting classes that he might like to look at. So the cost of the main conference is $482 per person. And then, I guess that's, did you want to, am I looking at it wrong? Okay, I'm sorry. As the main conference attendee, it's $329 per person, I'm sorry. Also, although 5 people would be attending, we are only paying for 4 because we have a credit from last year when one of our people could not attend.
Would that be down to 6 people?
I'm sorry, 6 people, not 5.
Okay.
Yeah, total of 6 people. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
But we'd only be paying for 5.
What's that?
We'd only be paying for 5.
Right, I
6
got,
would
yeah, I
attend.
get that.
And that's if the whole board attends.
Right.
The whole board and Steve, yeah.
Correct. Any questions?
I make a motion that we adopt what the way I just brought up about, what was it, 229? Or 329 a person for the MTA conference.
Second. Do we need to add lodging in there?
I would add lodging and food also. There are allowances for lodging and food.
Allowing for lodging and food, yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford.
There's no way to tell at this point what lodging is going to cost because we're not even allowed to call for housing until the 23rd of January. So we kind of are asking for a blanket approval at this point because we don't know what it's going to be. They range anywhere from, I think, if I remember right from looking at it earlier today, some of the hotels are as cheap as $85 a night and then others are, $150 or so per night. So. And like I said, we have no way of knowing which one we'll get in.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just to let everybody know, the last time we called within 5 minutes and all the immediate hotels were booked, we didn't even have an opportunity to, so you kind of take what's left or what you can get into. It's booked that fast. So thank you, Clerk Rendell. So I have a motion by Trustee Clifford. Do I have support?
Second.
Support by Trustee Gurley. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Letter P, employee health care coverage renewal.
The plan is staying the same. It is a 0.98 or 96% increase.
Less than 1% increase?
Correct.
That's new, because usually it's way more significant than that.
Absolutely. And we possibly have a couple more employees that'll be going on it.
Any questions?
Make a motion that we approve the employee health care by Blue Cross Blue Shield this year with an increase in cost of 0.96%. A second.
Motion by Clerk Candell, supported by Trustee Gurley. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter Q, Southeastern Gas Company Semco Energy Incorporated Gas Franchise Ordinance. For Jopik?
Yes, thank you very much. 30 years ago, in 1988, Semco received a franchise from the township to locate its gas lines, mains and whatnot in the public rights-of-way and areas of the township. It was a 30-year franchise, so being 2018, it's about to expire, and we are asking that it be renewed under a new franchise ordinance, which has been provided to you, providing various terms and conditions associated with their use of the public rights-of-way and areas for those purposes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I have none. Well, there's no money involved in this, right? We just grant them a franchise to do it.
That's correct.
Your recommendation is to do it, correct?
Yes, it's a continuation of what you already have, and their equipment, their lines are already there. They can put more lines in. This enables them to repair their lines and do business in the township.
Thank you, sir.
I make a motion, we renew the franchise ordinance with Southeastern Michigan Gas Company.
Just a side note, that franchise agreement will be, I identified as FA1-2018 because it becomes an appendix in our ordinance.
You said FA?
FA as in franchise agreement.
Okay.
Thank you. Support.
Support.
Motion by trustee Clifford, supported by clerk Kendall. Any other question or discussion? Clerk, roll call, please.
Clifford.
Aye.
Kendall.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Gurley. Trombley.
Aye. Motion passes, thank you. Letter R, property transfer affidavit resolution.
This resolution is presented by our assessing department, and it's basically to waive the interest and penalty that is associated with untimely and not filed property transfer affidavits. It will be identified as Resolution 2018-4.
Okay.
Instead of reading it, let me just say if you'd like to see a copy, it will be in the clerk's office.
Thank you.
I will make the motion that we accept Resolution number 2018-4 to waive interest and penalty associated with untimely and not filed property transfer affidavits.
I second.
Motion by clerk Kendall, supported by trustee Clifford. Any other question or discussion? Give the clerk roll call once again, please.
Kendall.
Aye.
Clifford.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Trombley.
Aye.
Gurley.
Thank you. Letter S, charitable gaming New Haven Community Schools booster. Deputy Supervisor.
Hello again. President of the New Haven Community Boosters Association contacted me about their gaming license. Because he is the president and he lives in Lenox, he has to come to our board to get approval for this license. It is one step in a long process to be approved. And they were going to have someone here today. He was going to speak, but he's out of town.
The gentleman's Jason Walker, correct?
Jason Walker. Yep, you all have the document, and I believe I passed out an email from Steve that they had no objections to this.
Attorney Jopik, you have no objections to this, correct?
No, we've taken a look at this corporation, confirmed it's a nonprofit corporation. It is in good standing with the state of Michigan. Its paperwork is in order with the state. And we also confirmed that it's located at the address that was represented in Lenox Township. So all appears to be in order. We need this in order to proceed with it.
I attend those meetings on occasion too, Mr. Jopik. They're registered correctly. I do that going into.
Thank you.
For filing and retention purposes, this resolution will be identified as 2018-5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion, Mr. Connell.
Make a motion we support.
Second.
Motion by trustee Clifford, supported by trustee Gurley. Any other discussion, questions? Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Clifford.
Aye.
Gurley. Trombley.
Aye.
Kendall.
Aye.
Connell.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Number 12, public comment.
I'm exhausted.
Oh, sir, if you would, please. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
I'm John Sarah.
Pull it up, sir.
Okay, there we go. I'm John Sarah. My only public comment is that I think that the board answered all questions about the medical marijuana and the what was formerly called a possible lottery for a golden ticket. I think that in their wisdom, they solved that question. And the fees are, I think, are in line with other fees throughout the state that are somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 $4,000 seems fair. And I look forward to submitting my applications, and I hope to do business here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? I'd like to thank the board for its efficiency in getting through this long agenda, the attorney and the planner, and our other staff members. Thank you. This was a long agenda tonight. I think we went through it very well.
No more vacations.
So what you get?
Hey, wait a minute.
I know. I'm kidding, Ken.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Anything else? Motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn at 7:59.
I second.
Motion by trustee Gurley, supported by trustee Clifford. Any other questions? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.